Hey everybody, thank you so much for joining us again for another Digging a Bit Deeper. Who are we, you guys, and what companies are we with?
Jennifer Fiore with Guild Mortgage. Oh, sorry, Tracy.
That's so funny. Go ahead.
Jennifer Fiore with Guild Mortgage.
Tracy McLeod with First Centennial Title.
Mary Thomas, Thomas Real Estate Group with Remax Professionals. And this week, you guys, I am so excited because the most exciting part is when we're getting to the end, right? And we are ready to close on that home, whether you're buying or selling. We want to go a bit deeper today on what to expect after you've signed your closing disclosures, or say you're the seller and you're ready to sign the paperwork. Are we done? Is that all we do after we sign the closing disclosures, or do we have a few more steps before the transaction is complete? That's what we're talking about today. So I wanted to dive in right away to the first step that I believe after you sign the closing disclosures, we would do what? You guys do some stuff before we can even go to the signing table. Is that correct? Together?
Correct. Yeah, title and lending has to work hand in hand through that closing process to make sure everything balances, the numbers are where they're supposed to be, everything's in line with the contract. From the lending standpoint, we're going to execute a closing disclosure 3 days before you can close. That gives you all the final numbers, pretty final. There's a couple that are still a little overinflated, but once they sign at title, after you've signed, those documents have to go back to our funder, who's going to confirm you signed everything that needed to be signed, dated everything, notaries are good, all the paperwork's in line. And then they're going to balance with, Tracy at title and make sure, do we have all the numbers exactly to the penny, matching? And once they match on our side, our funder is only then going to release a wire to fund that loan. And once that wire is released, we've technically funded on our side, but now it's going to go through a process to get checked out by the Federal Reserve, make sure there's no crazy terrorist activity, money laundering, stuff like that. And once it lands at title, then title is going to go through their process before it can go on record. And I'll let Tracy kind of talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so it is kind of a dance there at the end. We're doing the signing, and it's important to sign your paperwork exactly the lender docs are. There's things that come in, things that can slow it up. So if you don't, or signatures missed, then it can start this whole crazy thing over. But we do that. But once we actually get the wire in hand, you think, oh, we're closed, it's just going to happen. But there's a lot more that goes on before we, even though we have the money and everything, they do what is called a date down to make sure that there's no last minute things that have gone up against that property. Sometimes things can happen at that last minute. Okay. General, it doesn't. So we're usually pretty good. So they do a date down and then they record. They already have all the documents back, the deed and deed of trust and stuff to record. So they're ready to just rock and roll. Unlike other times, we now can record so much online. Mm-hmm. So it makes it a lot easier. It used to be we'd have to run down to the recorder's office and wait in line. And sometimes if the lines were really big, end of the month, end of the year, sometimes things didn't get recorded because they would cut you off. So grateful now that we can just scan things. Once that happens and it is closed, we call everybody, we let them know we're closed and we're on record, but we still are having to do closing package, buyer's package, seller's package for the agent, and putting that all together. And every agent's different. So a lot of people now, we can scan stuff. A lot of the agents want their buyer's package to actually hand deliver. Some don't. Sometimes we'll just FedEx it out, email it out. We try to get money, if there's money coming to the seller, to be wired to them instead of checks in the mail or cutting things, but it just depends on the situation. So all that can take a little time. And if you're closing late in the afternoon, which sometimes towards the end of the month can happen, yep, expecting a wire, sometimes they get really upset, but the money we wire out goes through the Federal Reserve and it's out there floating. And there's certain cutoffs. So if they have time and it's a Friday afternoon, they may not get their wire till Monday morning. And we do our best to explain that to them, that Depends on where it is on the cutoff. And if there's a holiday, it could be even longer. So when we know things like that are happening, we try to really make sure that we give them opportunities of how they might want their money for that exact matter. And then I run packages out if they're not being scanned, and we're excited. We're thank everybody.
Well, let's dig a little deeper on this. So back to, we have the closing disclosure. That would be on the buyer side. You're pretty much your final numbers of what your payment, your mortgage, your insurance, and everything will look like. And that's what you're signing. But we have 3 days after the buyer signs that before we can then go to the next stage, which is the closing day. And saying something, so I have a few tidbits I picked up that I have questions for both of you. Jennifer, you were saying that it goes back into underwriting at that point. Could they ask us for more stuff even though we've signed our final disclosures, or is this like checking?
So it technically goes back to the funder. That's after they've signed. Once they've signed a title, the docs that they did, the closing docs that the borrower signed, go back electronically to the funder to just check and balance, make sure they've all been signed.
Okay.
Very seldom does a file go back to an underwriter at that point. Maybe on new construction, when we just got a certificate of occupancy, will that have to be reviewed by an underwriter the day of close, or some other small little details? But normally we do not see it go back to an underwriter the day of close. It's really making sure the numbers are accurate, and then releasing that wire in an appropriate time frame. Like Tracy said, there's cutoff times of when a wire can go out, because we're going off the Federal Reserve, and of course they're in a different time zone than we are, so you can't have them sent out too late in the day. So
when
And we all try to get it done, but sometimes
yeah,
it just depends on how much is going on.
the
right.
day goes quick, especially when you're trying to hustle and stuff. So when the funder is balancing, what does that look like? They balance with the title company, and what are they balancing?
All the figures that are a part of that transaction, down to impound accounts and down to everything. They're making sure everything matches up perfectly to the loan amount.
So is this the stage where the lender has all of their fees and mortgage and everything, and then over here on this side, this is the title side with different fees and looking at title reports and different things like that, things during the contract, addendums,
Inspections
and different things that would all be a part of.
and you're taking the two and you're combining them and putting them on one sheet at that time for the final.
Yes, because there's things that the lender's not going to allow. So we have to make sure, like, especially if it was like an FHA or something like that, that the fees are matching up and that there's something that can't be done. Because ultimately, you guys want to sell on the secondary market, correct?
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So this is where it comes back to, even though you sign the CD, sometimes, and this is what we actually want, we want to catch anything that doesn't match up, and we want to fix it before it goes to the next stage. So this is why this time might take quite a while. Sometimes it's perfect, and in a perfect world, we'd love them all to be that way. But sometimes we're really looking at these for the benefit of the buyer and the seller. Is that right? Or is this for fun?
Both. Definitely for both. Yeah, we want to protect both and make sure everything's accurate. I can tell you one of the things we normally see, as a title and lender, we try to get all of these numbers in play or in line and balanced way before we get to the closing. But there are instances where, and last day, something got handled and an addendum was given for a $500 repair fee to closing costs. Well, now they got to rebalance based on that last minute number change. So those are little things that, if we can get it all at the beginning or even before they go in to sign, that's the preferred way. But once in a while, you do see little things change or get added or removed at the very end. So that's why we have to keep balancing and rebalancing sometimes.
And that is truly what she said.
Falls a lot on the evidence of sometimes things change in the middle, but if we maybe do our walkthrough when the CD is being handed out to sign, we might catch something that we now, instead of like the day of signing and closing, maybe if we did the final walkthrough a little bit beforehand, so if we needed to negotiate anything, it would be there before you guys are balancing. Would this be
Right.
helpful?
Yes.
Or
Any
like,
inspection or anything like that, like a lot of people, not, but some will hold on to that stuff and then they sometimes forget and they send it in and it's all last minute. That's everything down. So if you can send it, you have it, and that day send it. Just send it.
Yep.
Sending it. So the more we have up front, the less likely there'll be a glitch.
Yep.
and this might go for too, I remember digging a bit deeper a while ago, we were talking about speed is the key.
Yes.
Home insurance or different things like that. If we don't have that number and we missed it on the balancing sheet, this is something we're going to reach out and ask for and verify and make sure we have. So there's some steps that we as the agents can take to help the process too, but the process is just the process. So we've balanced the CD. The wire you guys give a wire, the later, but then it goes to the federal stage where they're going to, which again, this is something that we really want. And why would we want the federal government to do what they do, Jennifer?
Well, they need to make sure, again, there's no terrorist activity, money laundering happening, and that it's a legitimate, wire. And they can check it for fraud as well. So it's very important. It protects all parties as well to make sure that it's a viable source that's going through. So
if you're the buyer, you want your money to be clean and good, so you get that house. If you're the seller, you definitely want it to be good.
Yes.
As well, so that makes sense. And then from that stage, does it come back to the funder and then he sends it over to title, or does it go right there to you, Tracy?
It goes to us, and we have a whole bank of people, especially as it gets busier, that are watching, because you have to understand we have over 100 employees and they're all doing transactions and multiple transactions. So they're watching for that wire to come in and they're placing it where they need to place it. So there's a lot going on with that. And if a wire comes over and it wasn't, the name wasn't right, I mean, there's things that could, or the address is off, or there's certain things that are off on it, number, loan number, whatever. Sometimes that can delay it. But they're pretty good, this group, they're pretty good because they'll have enough information that within our system, if something's not matching up, they will blast all escrow and say, hey, we have this wire, this is what we have, to try to match it up to the right spot. But the delays, those don't happen often, but they do. And so,
and I know delays are frustrating, especially, you're right there, you're with the keys and you got your stuff and the kids are in the car and you're waiting to get in, one's waiting to leave. But honestly, I know how frustrating it is, but we want them to catch it and fix it before recording for probably a good reason, I'm imagining. Once you receive the wire, Tracy, what you go to your paperwork and the title and you're going over to the account.
Goes into they let the escrow officer know that it's in the account and what they need. And then we're able, we call title, we tell them they can record, they look for any last thing, and boom, we record.
And the recorder's office is actually the way they have it now, where you scan it over. They're very quick at it, but it does take some time and you want them to record it properly. So it's not like a 5
Yes.
Oh, go ahead.
And sometimes, I just want to say about that, sometimes there's things that may not be exactly right and we'll have pressure, not usually by most, but we'll have pressure. Oh, can't you just scan that copy in, or can't you just do that? No, we cannot. It's totally fraud. We want to close as bad as you do. I've had agents say, but they're in, they have their rental truck and it's Friday, and I'm sorry, but not right. And we can't do that. And there's good reasons, because what would happen is if a title company did that and got caught, would lose our privileges to ever do any online.
Right.
And so that would even slow us up. So you'll see, like when title companies are doing that, they're not trying to be difficult.
No.
Something wasn't done right and we have to fix it. So just know that. It happens rarely, but it does happen.
Yeah.
And once the title company sends it over to record and the county records, releases the old owner and puts the new owner in place, then I can come in and get you your keys. but the work still isn't done, then Tracy's still doing a few more steps, which mostly affects the seller of they need to be a little bit more patient to receive their funds, I'm imagining.
Well, we try to be set and ready with all our paperwork, so there's just the little final things that we have to do to send out. One of the biggest things that happens after a close is we send the paperwork to the buyer and the seller. They need to keep that in a safe place because they're going to need that for their taxes. So often they don't, and they're reaching out, oh, we need our closing statement. So to keep that in a safe place, but know that if for some reason something happened, to reach out and call us and we'll be able to generate a new one.
Okay. Well, I find it very interesting that, you know, when I kind of got into it, I was that one that was like, okay, they signed, ready, you know, like, so I think it's really important if we all understand what's going on, we all can have a little bit more patience and maybe not pack in the van at 9 o'clock in the morning and wait until we're at least having that signal to release to record, because sometimes things happen and we need to make it right before we can go to the next step. And that might cost a day or two, but that generally doesn't happen at this stage, but it could. We could make the wire sometimes.
You just have to keep your, you know, keep your mind open. I guess the biggest thing that I honestly believe, all of us are really truly trying to work it close. Nobody is trying to throw a monkey wrench into anything. Because none of us get paid until it closes either. So you get the house, we don't get paid. So we're all really trying. And if you think about how much business is done, we really are really good between the lender and the title. And there are glitches that happen, but they're not like a common every day there's a glitch type thing.
Right.
But know that, you know, you're right. If you have no other backup, and the weekends here, you know, I don't know why it always seems like the weekend, holiday weekend, something goes wrong.
Right.
And then on holiday weekends, just so you know, for us, the fraud level goes up high. People know that we are doing so many things and we're so busy. So they're trying to get in and try to steal wires and informations and throw monkey wrenches into things. We are trained, all of our staff, we have to do stuff every 6 months a thing, and they send trick stuff. So somebody hits a trick stuff, we have to go back in and do a whole set of training because they want to try to make sure that we're looking at something, and though it might seem like it came from you, but closer, there's a little glitch in it because we don't want to move forward in closing something off of a fraudulent thing.
Right.
So and I'm sure that's probably happening at the lender side of things too.
Yeah, we're always checking and rechecking and triple checking for fraudulent activity. It's pretty amazing in the last 16 years how all the process has changed just to confirm everything. But that's good. It's good for consumers, sellers, buyers, everybody. So it's good.
Yeah, we're
yeah. I really want to say it's the month of Thanksgiving, my favorite holiday. And we're just so thankful for you guys. And we're going back to just be safe and help. So we're doing it on Zoom this week. And we probably will next month as well. But if you have any questions, please comment below and we will answer those questions, whether it's about this particularly or you have any other questions. How would they get a hold of you if they don't want to be online and typing their questions? How would they reach out to you, ladies? I'll go with Jennifer first.
They can always call me on my cell. It's best number 775-338-5059.
My cell is also the best number, 775-230-0421, 775-230-0421.
And I just thought of this, but at the very last, is there anything that they could do in imparting to help that last stage not have a hiccup? Possibly if they're out of state and they're signing, could they set their wire up prior so that the funds aren't trying to get there the same day as you're trying to fund? And is there any other tips before we close that you would just say one tip each people worked on, it would help greatly for your side of it.
Yeah, I can say from the lending side, yes, when it comes to wires from the borrower or even donors that are giving gifts, if they could do it the day before closing, that would be perfect. If we try to cram too much stuff in, you already just heard there's a lot of things happening that day of close. So if we can take 1 or 2 things off that cram session, that can definitely make it a little smoother. So what about you, Tracy?
I say if you take 1 or 2 things off the cram session, you'll be able to sign your stuff a
Right.
little bit quicker, so there is any time to fix anything. So
Yeah.
you be up against the wall towards the end of the month when somebody has 8 signings, and get yourself in there to get signed so you can get funded and closed.
Right.
So yeah, just get the stuff in as fast. When we ask for it, just do it. Do it right then.
We're ladies that are bossing you around, but for good reason. Thank you, ladies, for doing this at a distance with me. I greatly appreciate you guys so much. And we'll be back again 3rd Wednesday of the next month for digging a bit deeper. Bye, you guys.
Bye.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.